Mondo is pro gamer. He's on a pro team, if that's what you mean, but I don't believe he's on a salary like some of the other players on his team. Like Mondo, he's on the same team as Cure, he's on the same team as Creator. Like, I'm pretty sure, you know, some of the more star players on his team, they get a little bit more support than he does. You know, he almost makes me think of back in the back in the Kespa days, there were B-teamers, if you recall, and B-teamers didn't get to play in Pro League. They were more players that like were practice partners, and they helped the A team, they helped the more established players prepare and practice. So maybe think of it in that sense a little bit. But here we go. We are getting into our second series of the afternoon, and spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos. It is Mondo. And spawning in the top left hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Mystery Gaming. It is Classic. Here we go. Mondo already taking down a pretty big name in Nice. Can he do the same to Classic? It's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Classic is a very different kind of Protoss player. He has a very different style as well. I remember for a long time, Classic, he's a very trendy player where I want to say for a month of ESL weeklies, Classic would just robo first against every Zerg player. I think this was in January. I want to say January, maybe December. Classic just robo first every game, and he would have so many variations of it, and then he switched. And I remember talking to Asher about it, and we theorized that the reason for this was Classic preparing for Katowice, and this was him just refining a build and then switching out of it, and then refining another build, and then switching out of it, and then refining another. You know, he would just go through these phases, and then he would have all of these different builds at and openers at his disposal. He would just kind of go through phases of them to, you know, practice them in these online tournaments. Oh. So because of that, he can be a very unpredictable player. He has a lot of variety to how he opens up and how he does play things out. And we'll see what he opts to go for this time, as we do see a gate expand setup from Classic, hatch gas pool from Mondo, nothing early on, no early pools, no early gases. Oh. Here we go. So, and yeah, from here, we're going straight into a Stargate opener from Classic as well. So everything is looking very standard from Classic, maybe going to be testing the waters as well. I do believe that Classic and Mondo have played in these online tournaments in the past. I'm sure that Classic isn't too concerned with himself, but we'll see how Mondo can adapt here against his opponent. And we'll see if Classic even goes Oracle first. He's one of those players that is more than willing to mix things up and go for a Void Ray or go for a Phoenix. Here we go. For the time being, the Adept, you know, just staying here in between the bases, trying to catch any transferring workers. He goes for a shade into the main, and ooh, we do see a very quick Spore Trick there from Mondo, so he hasn't lost a drone yet. We do see him drop 2 Lings, though, and Classic is looking for some more damage. Oh my god! We do see another Spore, but 1 drone finally does go down. It looks like a second drone as well. Nice body blocking there from Classic. He actually stopped the drone from making a Spore there. 2 drones for an Adept. Pretty good damage from Classic overall. Mondo was trying to be efficient. He was trying to defend with as few units as possible, and he almost did, but Classic with some very cheeky micro was able to get some damage done anyway. Meanwhile, we do see the Oracle, the first Oracle headed towards the third base. 2 Queens are here to defend, so the third is fine. Ooh, this Spore is a little bit late, though, because of all the chaos that was happening earlier, and this is too much damage. 5 drones, 6 drones, 7 drones going down. Up! Ooh. But the Oracle gets picked off. Okay, so an interesting turn of events here. We still have 3 Queens here at the third base, so Classic has to be a little bit careful not to commit. Oh my god! Classic does fly too close to the sun. He gets 1 more drone, but he does sustain hull damage. So typically, trading 1 Oracle for 7 drones is kind of even. It's a lot of damage, and I say 7 drones. And yeah, that was 7 drones alongside the 2 others that went down earlier. That was a lot of damage, but we also do lose a lot of the utility that Oracle does provide. So there's a bit of a give and take there. I want to give Classic the edge overall in that trade, especially because we still have 2 Oracles and we can still deal more damage. We have 3 Adepts threatening the 3rd base and 2 Oracles looking to distract and go towards the natural. The Queens are responding to the Oracles and now the Adepts are coming in. 2 drones go down. The Adepts are shading on in. The Queens are out of position. Oof. 4, 5 drones already going down. These Adepts are getting out of hand. We don't really have any Lings to speak of, only Queens to defend. And Classic is just pulling Mondo apart here in the early game. Again, Mondo was trying to cut corners. He was trying to defend with pure Queen, and he does get punished for it. He will clean all this up, but not before losing 11 drones. Oof. Classic does come out ahead here in the early game. His economic position is far superior than that of his opponents, and he is transitioning into Blink and +1. And what is scary about this is that what Classic is getting into is very momentum based, and he has that momentum already. It's going to be very difficult for Mondo to bring that back in his own favor. Not impossible, you know, he can definitely go for some Ling or even Baneling run-bys, but for the time being, he's going to be hyper-focused on defense. Oh god, it's the Oracles are still alive. No, still no Spore here at the natural base. Classic is relentless with his Oracle aggression. Ay. He just can smell the weakness. He can just see the weaknesses, the holes in the armor here of Mondo, and again he gets punished for delaying that Spore. He also doesn't have a Spore here at the 3rd base either, again because ideally at this level of play you want to be cutting corners, you want to be efficient, you want to be able to defend with as little as possible, but that could also be another area that Classic can exploit. Oh boy, and here we go. Classic is now moving out with his army. +1 is about to finish up. Blink as well, and we have a Warp Prism to reinforce to support this Stalker army, and this push may just be the nail in the coffin. Lings are on the way for Mondo, but he doesn't really have too many to work with yet. And even if he does, we have Oracles to help deal with those Lings if they ever do get us around. And Mondo is actually going for a run-by at the same time. Here we go. He's going to be looking to deny the 4th base, and it looks like he should at least deny the 4th. Finally, Mondo is going to be able to get some counter damage done here. Up. Oh, there we go. We do see that cancel. But Classic doesn't turn around. He wants to keep the pressure on here. He's going to be able to clean up some of this creep as well. And that's another thing to bear in mind. Because the Queens have been so busy trying to keep up with the Oracles, there is barely any creep spread. We are only connecting the bases. Lings do have +1 melee. They try and go first round, but the control from Classic is just a little bit too good. Back across the map, we have 2 Robos. We're getting into double Colossus production to help deal with those Lings. The transition from Classic is on point. And Mondo mustering up his own defense. He's going Ling, Bane, Hydra, which typically is a good composition against Stalker Oracle. But we can see here there aren't that many Stalkers. Why aren't there that many Stalkers? Well, because Classic is making Colossi. He is transitioning. He has halted Stalker production in favor of getting at these defensive Colossi. And Colossus are amazing against everything that Mondo has. Lings, Banes, and Hydras. All the light units. Regardless, we do see Mondo catching some of these Stalkers, and these are pretty good trades for Mondo, to be honest. Like, these are pretty good catches overall. I worry that he's overextending. We have a revelation on this army. The Colossi are rotating over as well, and Mondo hasn't seen the Colossus yet. He doesn't know what he's about to walk into, so he has to respect this. He has to back off. We do have an infestation bit on the way. We're going to be headed towards a Hive and Vipers, but alas, it's too late at this point. The Colossus are already arrived. Classic is going to be moving out, and the Colossus have been revealed. Oof. That's a rough scout from Mondo. To see that 3 Colossi are already out. Mondo knows that he can't really fight this, and he knows that he has to buy some time. So he's going for a Ling run by. Oh my god, he's actually going all the way to the natural. A little bit of a bold move. A lot of Lings are going to get shaved off here as he tries to break into the natural base. Oh, not quite worth it for a run by. He loses a lot there. The Hydra count surprisingly high. I don't know if we really want to invest in this many Hydras. I feel like we need more Ling Bane, but regardless, here we go. Classic moving out with 4 Colossus. And the laser beams are just going to be too good. Classic just had such a powerful way into the mid game just because of how much economic damage he dealt, how many drones he was able to pick off in the early game. He had so much freedom to saturate his third base, and sure, his fourth was cancelled earlier, but he was able to throw down his rovers, throw down his bay. Ugh. And honestly, really clean play out of Classic this game. GG gets called, and Classic will take game number 1. Ooh, GG. As you can see, there's a reason why Classic is a champion. You know, he's got a GSL under his belt. He's got some IEM wins as well. Classic is one of the best players in the world. Ooh, and yeah, we saw even these little minute details in the early game. Classic, he was so attentive with those oracles. He was so active with those adepts. It was very impressive to see how in Mondo's face he was, and not just in his face, but also finding that damage, and again punishing Mondo for not having Lings, or for not having his queens in position, for having some delayed reactions as well to what Classic was doing. Oh, very well done. And now we are going to be moving on to game number 2. Ooh. Here we go. We'll see if Mondo can bring it back here. We'll see if maybe a couple of nerves came into play as well. I think this is where I have to say that this is why there's also value to be had when you're an aspiring player, and when you go up against a world-class player, you can see where you're lacking a little bit, you know? I do think that it's really valuable to be able to look back on this replay and examine kind of your own flaws and compare them to your opponents. You can see where maybe whether it's, again, queen positioning, or maybe trying not to skip out on Lings, for example. You can see here and there where maybe your weaknesses are, and you can improve upon them. But before that happens, we are going to be getting into game number 2. We're going to be continuing the series and spawning in the top left hand corner of Gresvan. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos, currently down in the series, but not out. It is Mondo. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponents. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Mystery Gaming. It is Classic. Here we go. Classic having almost flawless execution of his aggression last game with his oracles and his adepts. It was insane to watch. I was not envious of Mondo. I was not envious of him attempting to keep up with the oracles and with all those adepts. Yeah, definitely a tough ask there for Mondo. Oh, but we'll see how things go in game number 2 here. We'll see if Classic just sticks to his guns and goes for a Stargate opener again. I mean, there's no reason not to be honest. I feel like Classic can just pull it off again, you know, go for a Stargate opener, go triple Oracle, go for Twilight Council follow-up as well. If it worked in game 1, and honestly it worked quite well for him, there's no reason for him to switch things up. But we'll see. We'll see what Classic does decide to do. As for the time being, Mondo is going for a standard opener. Hatch gas pool here from Mondo. Nothing too fancy, nothing too crazy. Despite how game 1 went, we can see that his mental hasn't really been phased. He's not thinking okay, now I need to go for a 12 pool or try to cheese him out. No. He hasn't faltered here. He's not going for any early game cheeses. Everything's standard. Strong mental, Bobby. Strong mental. Oh. You love to see it. And yeah, we'll see how this does progress from here. The Cybercore has now finished up, and we should be seeing the Tech of Choice thrown down for Classic, and there it is going to be going for the Stargate. Of course, the Overlord of Mondo does confirm that the warp gate was delayed here by a little bit. Did start a little bit later after the cybercore was done, so that typically does mean that it is going to be a Stargate opener. I say typically because it isn't a hard rule by any means. It's not a hard rule. It's an assumption that you can make. And this time, Mondo was able to actually take the natural. So he's going to have a little bit of an easier time defending. He's going to have a little bit of an easier time connecting his creep between his bases as well. So already a bit of a better start this game for Mondo. Compared to last game, I should say. Oh. Queen's on the way. We do have an Oracle for us coming out. Ooh, this Overlord from Mondo is getting caught out here. He's going to try and head for that Overlord pillar, but... Oh, what of us? Oh, the Overlord will not make it. Is going to supply block Mondo for a little bit. There we go. We do have that first Oracle zooming out across the map. And a second Oracle behind it. So again, so far, this is just like the opener that Classic went for in Game 1. Here we go, the Oracle is zooming out. I do wonder if Mondo is going to try to once again skip out on spores. For the time being, we do have 2 queens at the natural and 2 queens in the main, so honestly, we are perfectly fine defensively for the time being, and we have a spore on the way at the third. So for the initial Oracle, we are set up, but what about when 2 Oracles show up? You know, are we going to invest in more spores? And we are. We have a spore on the way in the main. So Mondo... he has been humbled. After game 1, he's like, oh wait, we're making spores, all right? I'm not gonna try and rely on just my queens. Not against this guy. And you know, you love to see the evolution of a series here. It does make sense. As we can see, even a spore at the third base. So taking these Oracles very seriously. Despite that, 4 drones are still going to go down here in this run by. The Oracles do take a lot of hits though. That's the important thing to bear in mind. Even though we have spores, you do still need queens. Meanwhile, 3 adepts do shade into the natural base. This time we do have more links to defend, but the target firing is pretty damn good. The drones stick around a little bit too long, and 9 drones go down. 11. Ooh. The adepts are cleaned up a little bit faster here, but again, Mondo did kind of... He was a little bit greedy with how he was maneuvering his drones, and he was keeping them in the vicinity of those adepts because he wanted to resume mining as quickly as possible. Oh, meanwhile, 2 more adepts show up here at the third base. Queens are keeping up with the Oracles. They're going to be able to fend them off. What's important is that we only have 2 Oracles this time, not 3. So Classic isn't going to have anywhere near as much firepower here to harass and to dip between the bases. Oh. Ooh. As the Oracles do kind of feign a little bit of aggression, but here we go. The Queens get into position and 1 Oracle goes down. Very nicely done. At the same time, the 2 adepts didn't pull the trigger either to get into the main base. So even though 11 drones died, this is a better defense than game number 1. So Mondo has been able to improve on himself, and he has been able to minimize his losses overall. And he is going very quickly into a Spire. Oh my god. A very bold move here from Mondo to just rush into that Spire. I mean, he has a Roach Warren, he has Lings, and he's going to have Roaches to defend as well. But that Spire is going to give him access to some mutas later on. So that's going to be interesting. Before that happens, the first wave of Stalkers are here, and yo, they're going for the Overlords. Oh my god. Oh my god, no! Oh, he will get the Overlord in the end. Will get it and back off. Mondo going to be taking his 4th base behind this. Is making a wave of Roaches to defend. He is investing in Roach upgrades as well, so it's not like he plans to go mass muta. I do believe that this Spire is only for 5 to 6 mutas just to be able to harass, just to be able to one-shot workers. Before that happens, Classic is just poking and prodding here across the map. We do see Lings trying to go for a bit of a run by, and oh, there wasn't a wall! Ooh, a couple of Lings do slip into the main base, and these Lings won't be able to deal too much damage, but they do get a full scout of the main. They even force a recall of these Stalkers, confirming the additional gases, confirming that we even have a second Robo here and a Bay at the natural, so he knows that just like the last game, Classic is planning to go into double Colossus. There we go. So in a way, a bit of a more defensive style of play. I say a bit defensive. We still have Stalkers to be aggressive, but to pull this off, again, it's why these Stalkers initially were back at home, and it took a while for Classic to really assert himself across the map, as we were spending a lot more of that gas on that transition point. So a Classic, he is getting ready once again for Lingbane Hydra. That's kind of what this Colossi do represent. But the mutas are out. They have gone unscouted. Despite all these oracles, the Spire was never seen, and there's nothing to defend these bases. Recall was just used, by the way. These Stalkers cannot run back home. They cannot teleport back home. We do have a warp in instead already. A couple of probes going down. The mutas dive on top of the Colossus, actually. Was that a wise choice? We do see one Colossus going down, but we're losing a lot of these mutas. Now, at the same time, the Roach army is pushing on forward here. Mondo cutting workers at 77 is going to get a couple more probes in the main. I do think Mondo could have gotten more economic damage. He did give that up for killing the Colossus. Was it worth it? We'll see. The Roach army is pushing on forward here. This fourth should go down. Ooh. Oh, he's going for the Colossus! Oh, but the pickup micro is a little bit too good. Instead, he's settling for Stalkers instead. Colossus is taking a couple of hits, but again, the pickup micro is pretty good from Classic, but Mondo is not stopping. He's sending everything across the map. We do see nothing but Roaches and Lings in production. He's still, once again, getting on top of the army of Classic. The 1-2 punch. Classic was distracted by those mutas when really he should have been worried about the Roaches. And these Roaches are trading fairly well. He did kill the fourth base, but can he do more than that? He did kill the second Colossus. But we have a third and fourth Colossus coming out. Mondo is running out of steam. I do think he has to consolidate his army. I think he has to back up. Oh, he's throwing away a little bit too much here. And there we go. He will now pull back. Oh, even a couple more mutas getting picked up as well. Only a single muta remaining. But Mondo still has a very large army. He did kill 2 Colossi. There are only 2 Colossus remaining. We have 14 Stalkers. I do think that Mondo, if he remaxes, he can push out again, and he can maybe not just kill the fourth, and maybe he can break the third as well. The cannon is being rebuilt. Classic is moving out, mate. He's crazy. He's going to get a lot of these overlords, don't get me wrong. But Mondo has rebuilt his army. He's rushing across the map. At the same time, we do see the Oracle counterattacking. No Spore at the fourth base. But it may not even matter because here we go. Mondo, he's crashing in towards the fourth. The fourth does go down immediately. We're waiting for some reinforcements. The Colossi do have a really good angle on that cliff face. The Disruptors are coming out! Oh, with the arrival of these Disruptors, that does change things. Both Novas are going to whiff, though. Only getting a couple of Roaches, and now Mondo can focus on his push. Oh, is he gonna have enough, though? Oh, Mondo is running out of steam, and he is being forced back once again. Oh, I'm getting a bit of deja vu. Oh, every Overseer goes down. I'm getting a little bit of Mondo versus Nice deja vu here. But Classic actually has a scary army is the difference. If you remember, Nice at the time only had a single Disruptor. Mondo, he's forced to back off. He's going to drone instead. We do have an Infestation Bit on the way to transition into Hive Tech. Mondo does have the map control, but he doesn't have the army lead anymore. Like, numbers are deceiving. You know, does the soup lie? Here it does. The supply is inflated by Mondo because of the mass amount of Roach Ravager. Classic does have a more efficient army overall. We have 4 Disruptors, and I believe that that Classic has the control to actually make these Disruptors worth it as well. So Mondo is in a rough position right now. He has to try and transition into something a little bit more effective. Going into Lingbane from here wouldn't be a bad choice, but really what he needs more than anything are Vipers. Vipers are what he desperately needs. The Hive is on the way, but it's only halfway done. And Classic is not going to wait. Classic is not going to give his opponent that time. We do see a massive Ling Roach Ravager run by. He does force a recall. Very important. Mondo needs to wait for that Hive to finish. He needs to force Classic to back off. It is going to cost him. A lot of the Roach Ravager is going to die by forcing the recall. But you know what? He's not stopping. Once again, he comes back into the 4th base. Oh. Again, just keeping Classic busy. The Hive does finish. We need Vipers. We need him. Oh, we're going for the Greater Spire. Oh, that's ambitious. That's real ambitious, Papi. Here we go. Classic is arriving. How many disruptors do we have? We have 6 disruptors. I mean, going for the Vipers would be ambitious as well because it takes a while to build. It takes a while to gather energy. I think regardless, the Hive was too late. Novas are going to be going off. Classic warping in Mondo's face. And Classic is going to be able to push on through and break the defenses of Mondo. Mondo just doesn't have enough here. He wasn't looking for a late game. He wanted to end the game earlier. He almost did, to be fair. He almost did. As Classic is going to be swarming the Zerg. GG gets called, and Classic will take the series 2-0. GG. Oh. Well played, Mondo. Looking a lot better in that game, to be honest. He had the momentum. Questionable move with his mutas, but we saw that the reason why he prioritized killing the Colossus was because he was going for the follow-up Roach all-in, basically. The Roach Ling all-in. And he just barely didn't break the 3rd base of Classic. It was close, though. He was very close to breaking it. If he had, that would have been game. Unfortunately for him, Classic, his defense, his Warp Prism Micro was a little bit too good. His Disruptor timing was on point as well. And congratulations to Classic for advancing on to the quarterfinals. Shout out to Mondo, though. His run ends here. But hey, in game number 2, you know, he was looking quite good. He had an opportunity against Classic, and he was even able to take down Nice earlier as well. So I hope Mondo, he does take this as a learning experience and he's able to improve from here, because I'm sure we will see more of Mondo in the coming weeks, months, and year. But Classic does advance on. You know, again, he was the favorite going into it, so no surprises here. Classic does advance on to the quarterfinals to face another Zerg player. He is going to be going up against Ragnarok. Oh, the ZVPs continue. I'm not complaining. Let's go, Papi. Let's go.